Say you can't lose weight. You're trying, and you've even ditched the dogma that you learned decades ago that said eat less, exercise more, and you finally are listening to me that that is not the way to go. And you're actually fueling your exercise and not over exercising, but still nothing. Or maybe you've hit a plateau. We're talking about all of that today and leptin resistance as we age. So listen, if it feels like you're gaining fat, you can't lose the fat. We've got some answers for you on why and what's going on. But not only that, the better what to do about it. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns. But most of all, we hope to inspire you that there really are answers and solutions to the problems that you're solving that we can get to in such a better way than some of the old dogma, and realize that science needs to be science about you, midlife women, and what's going on with your hormones. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset, often about what to eat and how to move, so you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest today. Before I do that, if you're struggling with exercise, whatever you're doing isn't working, it's causing you more fatigue than not, or if you just know I need to start or restart, I'm going to suggest my 5-day flip. It is like sticking a toe in the water, literally. There are 5 short, very short videos to do 5 days in a row. And the purpose, the biggest one, is to help you connect what you're doing and how your hormones are impacted by exercise, but also to have you do 5 days in a row and convince yourself, I do have time and it can make me feel better, not worse. All things in the show notes today. What are you waiting for? Let's dive into this episode. My guest, Dr. Bindiya Gandhi, you heard me right, yes, is double boarded by the American Board of Family Medicine as well as the American Board of Integrative and Holistic Physicians. She's not only a weight loss doctor and guru, but also leptin and hormone experts, especially helping women reset their metabolism. I know you're tuning in and turning it up right now. Her interests include integrative, holistic, and functional medicine, women's health, preventative medicine, international medicine, and health care reform. And she's also, get this, a certified yoga instructor and Reiki master. She used to practice emergency medicine as well. Dr. Bindiya, media expert and contributor to sites including the Daily Mail, Mind, Body, Green, Clean Plated, Well and Good, and so many more. When she's not working or writing, you can find her in the kitchen cooking, doing yoga, or enjoying time with her right now expanding family. Bindiya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on.
This is a topic near and dear to our listeners. And so years ago, I wrote, You Still Got It, Girl, the After 50 Fitness Formula for Women. And in the chapter on hormones, I highlighted leptin. And although I can say we've touched on that topic several times, I think if you quizzed any of my listeners, they might still be a little bit unsure of just what is leptin and what does that hormone do. And before we dive into that question, I want to ask you, I mean, with such a unique background, which I love, most people have a story as to why they came to their why this field, why not plumbing or lawyer or something else that you could have done. What's your story?
Well, Deborah, I will say that my story actually stems from my own personal journey. I thought I was healthy. I was in medical school and I was meditating. I was doing yoga. I thought I was eating well. I thought I was in great health. I went to medical school. I had learned everything in the textbooks, but it was actually a failure in my own health and conventional medicine that actually made me want to dive deep and be an advocate for patients and find another way for them. I was in residency, and during this time, I thought I was doing things right, but I was also around a lot of stress. I wasn't eating as well as I thought. I was doing shift work, working at nights, and not sleeping well during the day. I was very high stressed. I was away from my family. I was kind of like in a town, in a city, with no family around me. So I think there were so many different factors in play. And of course, I was predisposed to some genetic tendencies that I was not aware of. So lo and behold, long story short, I had menstrual irregularities, acne. I was clenching my jaw, biting my teeth. I had just so many things going on with me at the time. And the thing that triggered me to go to the doctor was, of course, a rash on my face, and I went to the dermatologist. Actually, I went through primary care doctors and no one was able to help me. Literally spent thousands of dollars on different types of medications because I was desperate and nothing helped. The rash would go away for like a day and it would come right back. Went to the dermatologist, had biopsies done, was told, you're just going to have to live with it. Take this cream, you'll be fine. Was not happy with that. And found out later on working with a functional medicine doctor, because I was not happy with it. Literally, this was going on for like 2 years before I sat down and said, you know what, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another reason. I remember the turning point was actually going to see an allergy immunologist, and they didn't want to do any testing on me. They basically told me I was just a stressed out resident, and I could not accept that. So I worked with a functional medicine doctor and found out I had celiac. And once I eliminated gluten from my diet, it's like night and day difference. I had gained weight. I was always lean, always worked out. And I maintained my workout regimen during residency, but had started to gain weight. My thyroid started going awry too. All these things were going awry. And the minute I cut out gluten, the minute I went gluten-free and really got to the root cause, it's like life changed and it was amazing. And so ever since then, I was like, you know what? We have to dig deeper. You have to ask questions and you have to be an advocate for your own health and find the right people to work with.
Wow, what a story. So tell me age-wise, in residency, late 20s, early 30s?
Yes, I was late.
Okay.
So I think if I can recall correctly, I think I was officially 30 when I was diagnosed with celiac. And I remember being like, what? I just turned 30 and now my life is ending.
You're right. Right. And wait till you're 60 and you think that is so young.
I know. It's so funny, right? But like at that time, I was just like, oh my God, I just turned 30 and I feel like I'm falling apart.
It's totally true. Okay, let's come back full circle to leptin. And I mean, can you describe what is the hormone leptin, known as the satiety hormone, and why is it important for listeners who may be the women in midlife on a weight loss journey?
Leptin is so important because it's a lesser unknown hormone that is not talked about as much and not much attention goes towards it, but it's so important and it explains so much, right? So I love educating and talking about leptin because it really has an important role, right? So it's produced by our own fat cells and it communicates with the part of our brain called the hypothalamus. And leptin's job essentially is to tell your brain whether or not you have enough fat stored to fuel your body to burn calories at a normal rate, right? So in other words, it lets you know if you're properly full, satiated, and can stop eating, or do you need to eat again? It kind of guides us and lets us know what we should be doing. Well, sometimes what happens with people is this miscommunication is off, and this miscommunication can really impact your metabolism, your energy, your mood, and so much more, right? So when you're not getting the memo that you're full, you actually are eating more frequently. You don't feel full. You just are constantly hungry. And leptin levels circulate at a higher level, right? And this causes changes in appetite, food cravings, weight gain, sleep disturbances, inflammation, hormonal imbalances, and so much more. And so it's really important to kind of understand, is this communication off? Because if this communication is off, more likely you have other stuff going on, like maybe some underlying insulin resistance. Your inflammatory markers are elevated. You're more likely to be overweight. And a lot of times this happens for so many reasons. It happens because we've been yo-yo dieting for years. We've tried so many different things. We gain weight really fast due to a stressful situation in life, or we lose weight really fast, or whatever it is, right? The biggest thing that I'm seeing right now, Deborah, is people are restricting their calories, and not just now. People have been restricting their calories for years, right? So because they think that you've got to starve yourself and over exercise, and that's how you lose weight, because that's what has been taught to us since even before I went to medical school. That's what, if you want to lose weight, that's what the protocol has been. But because of this misinformation, it has messed up our metabolism, but more importantly, our leptin. And that's why it's really essential for people to be aware of this hormone and start paying attention to it.
So good. Okay. So talk to me about this, because I know that you discuss like weight, like carrying extra weight, and its impact on hormones. Can you break that down?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just about like a 5-pound weight gain or a 10-pound weight gain or whatever it is, right? So there is a direct correlation between your body mass index and that's based on your height and your weight, right? That's how we get your body mass index. But there's a direct correlation between your body mass index as well as the leptin hormone. So traditionally, the higher your body mass index, the higher your circulating hormone is, right? So just to break it down a little bit, the average or what we call normal range of body mass index is actually between 20 to 25. That's what we consider a normal, healthy average weight. Anything above 25 is overweight. Anything below 20 is considered underweight, right? So when we start deviating from the average body mass index, we tend to see some variations in leptin, in the circulating leptin levels in your blood.
Okay, so let me unpack that just for a minute, because as I break down for people the difference between BMI and body composition.
Yes, there's a difference.
BMI is a little short-sighted in that it doesn't take into account, are we talking muscle or fat? Can you speak to that? I mean, does it matter in regard to this particular correlation, the BMI and circulating hormone?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So again, traditionally what I'm referring to is, body mass index that's based on height and weight. We're not taking into consideration muscle composition. We're not taking into consideration natural fluid accumulation, or et cetera. And there is a difference, because you can unfortunately be considered overweight and have a body mass index of 26.5, but you're all muscle. And in my books, that's not truly overweight. The problem is most providers, practitioners are not checking muscle compositions, right? We don't have that. Well, sorry, there is the technology available, but it's not readily affordable and available for all practitioners to do for all their patients.
That's such a good, tell me this, if you could see a crystal ball, when will that happen?
I'm not going to lie. I've actually looked at that device for my patients, but it's so expensive. It's super expensive.
Are we talking about like a in-body body composition analyzer? Or are we talking about doing it as a DEXA?
Yeah, it's more like an in-body composition. So yeah. I love the information. I love the technology. I love the data, but it's just
$10,000.
Exactly. It's just not affordable, right? And I'll be honest, patients don't want to pay for that, because it's a very expensive test, and especially because you're not going to just do it one time, right? You're going to be doing it multiple times to track the progression, and that's the downfall of it. But I love the information, I love the technology, and I think it really puts it in perspective. You know what? You actually lost weight and you actually lost fat versus losing muscle, because even today, this is a perfect example of me seeing a patient and client today, and she was so excited that she had lost weight. But guess what? She had lost all muscle. And I was like so disappointed, because she was so proud of herself that she was, the scale gave her the right number, but I'm like, but you lost muscle. And when you lose muscle, bad things happen.
Oh, yes. Okay. So talk to me about this, and then we'll come back. So this tangent, I feel like, is really important, but so I've been an advocate ever since, April of 2020, that everybody in their home now needs to have a smart scale.
Yes.
However poorly they might be calibrated, if you buy a truly budget version, it's better than nothing.
Yes. So I agree. I mean, I personally have a smart scale at home. I think it's really important for me to kind of understand my personal physical composition. And the smart scales at home are definitely more affordable than like the fancy in-body ones. So I definitely think that, it's something to invest in because they last long term, but it also puts perspective, especially when we're talking about weight loss and adjusting, or what, not even weight loss, if you're trying to gain muscle too, right? You actually want to know, are you truly gaining muscle versus gaining fat? So whatever your goals are, I think it's just the information that you get from there. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, so love it. And I have to tell you this too, just for listeners. So I'm going to send you to the resources where I recommend the top smart scales. You can buy an in-body, by the way, for at home. And it is kind of the Rolls Royce of one you might want in your own bathroom, but you don't have to go there. You don't have to spend that much to have something. And if you measure on a scale not calibrated really well, pre and post, what you see is change. And that's the important part.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Love it. Okay. So back on track. Okay. Let's talk about, the importance of weight loss. I think we can all agree to be at optimal body composition and thriving is so very important. And many women do experience, like you did in medical school, when they're going through midlife hormonal changes, it's much more common to suddenly feel like I'm out of control. I don't know how to change this ship. Let's describe the conventional approach to losing weight. You've kind of discussed the dogma that's out there that we know doesn't work versus the functional medicine approach and why that weight loss is so important for hormone balance.
Yeah, so important. So, in medical school, in my biochemistry class, like this is seriously, I remember this conversation. It was like, okay, this is like a 1 hour nutrition weight loss course, in like 4 years of medical school. And the synopsis was, if you want to lose weight, you have to significantly cut your calories. In order to lose 1 pound, you have to burn 500 calories to lose 1 pound. So if you're trying to lose X amount of pounds, then you have to do the math to make sure that you're cutting even more calories so you can lose weight. Like that's essentially, in a nutshell, what we're taught, right? Oh, and by the way, while you're cutting your calories, you want to increase your workout. So you're burning more calories. So not only are you eating less, you're also burning through all the less food that you're now eating. But that's how you lose weight. And of course,
hold on right now. So any listener just tuning in, that is not what she's saying. She's saying what she was taught, and we're going to clarify that. Yes. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So of course, and I'm not going to lie, of course, when I wanted to lose a couple pounds here and there, that did work. It does work. Let me rephrase that. Short term, it works, right? It does not work long term. If you're trying to lose 50 pounds, 100 pounds, that does not work. If you're trying to lose 1 or 2 pounds, that'll work. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a quick way. It's not sustainable and it's not healthy. The functional medicine approach is saying, first of all, that is so wrong. Because, and I'll tell you, and I'll give you a perfect example. Okay. And I'm calling myself out, but I was guilty of this. When I wanted to lose weight whether it was college or medical school, because I, wanted to lose a few pounds. You know what I would do? I would go on the Special K diet. I don't know if you guys remember Special K back then, but that was literally, I think it was like you eat Special K for like 3 meals a day and you'll lose.
That's a great promotion of a product right there. Right.
I want to be honest. Okay. So yeah, that works. But you know what happened is, it works. And I lost the weight that I wanted to lose, but I knew nothing about the nutritional composition of what I was eating and putting into my body. It was strictly a math equation that I was working on. Right. Well, guess what? That worked in medical school. In residency, when nothing had really changed, I was still eating the same, still working out the same, except life had changed, hormones had changed for me, stress had changed, and thinking, well, I remember being in medical school and I could go on the Special K diet. Well, guess what? I did the Special K diet in residency. I did not lose a pound. Okay. I was starving and I didn't lose a pound. And I was baffled. I remember being like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm only eating about 800 calories a day. I should have lost a pound, right? That's what the math works. You know why it didn't work? Because I was ignoring my hormones. I was ignoring that I had some inflammation going on. I was ignoring the fact that I had toxins building up in my gut, in my liver, and all these other things. And I was ignoring all these other things that were going on in my body because I was focusing on a stupid math equation. That is why traditional weight loss does not work versus the functional medicine approach, because there's so much that goes into weight loss than a stupid math equation. Hands down.
So true. So true. So what I like to say, and you tell me if you're jumping on this bandwagon, but calories don't control your weight. Your hormones control what your body does with the calories, whether it's a deficit or a surplus of them.
Yeah, I agree. Because here's the other thing is, especially when let's just talk about nutrition in general, right? Yeah. There, you can have calories like the Special K. It literally, when I look back at that, there's like no nutritional content in Special K. It's all processed. It's just, all it is calories. There's nothing nutritional in there. There's no, maybe there's like 1 gram of protein, maybe there's like, I can't remember what it is now, maybe like 15 grams of carbs. I don't remember, but like there's literally no nutritional composition versus saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to eat a little bit more calories and I'm going to get in this one meal, I'm going to make sure I get 20 grams of protein. I'm going to make sure I get a good amount of carbohydrates, a good amount of healthy fats, a good amount of vegetables. Completely different equation, completely different things that your body is using with those nutrients and the vitamins and the essential fatty acids and the protein that you're getting from there. Does that make sense? Like it's so important to kind of differentiate and distinguish between the two.
Yes. Yeah. Totally love it. And just to quote research, and I can't give you the exact research, people, it's somewhere listed in a blog somewhere on Flipping 50, but it's been said that if the quality of the food you eat is higher, that you can eat up to 300 calories more a day without gaining weight.
Yep, that is very, very true. And again, it depends on like the type of food you're eating. Are they empty calories or are they essentially doing something for you? You actually, when you're eating the right type of nutrients, you're actually burning through it faster and quicker because your body is using the magnesium, it's using the B12, it's using your gut microbiome is like working with it. So it definitely makes a big difference.
Why is it that the reason or the impetus, the science behind when you lose weight, a listener has gone through this, I'm absolutely sure, every signal tries to get you to regain that weight. What is going on there?
Oh my goodness, that's such a great question. So what ends up happening is, our body gets used to being at a certain weight. So whether maybe you're at, a weight that you're unhappy with, maybe you're 20 pounds heavier than you'd like to be, right? Well, eventually your body gets kind of comfortable at that weight, right? You start changing things up. You started a workout program. You've, hopefully using a functional medicine approach now, are trying to lose weight. You're doing all these different things. You've decreased inflammation, changed up your diet, realized you've got some gut microbiome issues, kind of work through all these things. You will lose the weight. It will come off naturally and it will be a lot easier, right? And I know people are like, seriously? Yes, it does come off easier. You don't have to try as hard when you're doing the right things that your body wants to do. However, what does happen is the body does remember that I liked being 20 pounds heavier. It has the memory, right? Of being heavier. And so sometimes it wants to gravitate towards that. So it's really important to kind of be aware, especially when it comes to weight loss. One of the things that I and I'm sure you tell people this too, it has to be a slow progression. Especially from a long-term metabolic metabolism perspective. Our goal still is 1 to 2 pounds a week. Yes, you want to lose 20 pounds a week. Yes, you probably could lose 20 pounds a week. And guess what? The next week you'll gain 30. Okay. Because that's where the body remembers, because it's not sustainable. But everything that we do through functional medicine is very slow. And it takes the body to get used to, adjust it, recalibrate, reset itself. So every 2 pounds that you're losing, your body kind of resets itself. Okay, I like being at this weight. I'm comfortable now. All right, let's go back to let's change things up. Next week you lose another 2 pounds. it's a very slow progression, and you're more likely to keep it up because of that. You're readjusting that muscle memory, or not muscle memory, the memory of the fat cells.
I love that. And I love a plateau for somebody. Somebody going through weight loss will sometimes say, I was losing consistently and now I'm not. And I like to say, are you gaining? So if you're here, realize that your body's now at this newer homeostasis. It's okay. Give it a moment. Keep doing the things. Don't be tempted to cut way back some more. Just stay there, continue to do the right things, and things will shift again.
And actually, I'm so glad you brought up a weight loss plateau, because this is also part of the conversation with leptin, right? So leptin will start decreasing and coming down when you start doing certain things. So if you start decreasing inflammation, you start fixing your thyroid hormone, you start fixing your gut microbiome, you start fixing all these different things, your leptin levels will start falling. And then, of course, you're recalibrating your weight. So they definitely work hand in hand. What tends to happen, though, again, another good example, I just saw a patient last week, is she had now lost the weight. So she is now officially 15 pounds lighter than she started, which has been great. She's super happy about that. So the weight moved in the right direction on the scale. But guess what? Her leptin number actually went up. And that's completely the opposite of what I typically see in the patient. But in her scenario, she had lost the weight, has now reached a weight loss plateau, but she still has some other hormonal imbalances that still need to be tweaked. Now, when we tweak the rest of those hormonal issues, we'll start seeing even a little bit more weight loss, and we'll definitely see the leptin level coming down a little bit more as well.
Love that. Great points. I'm going to ask you something that it may throw you for a loop, but this has happened in work with some of my more significantly overweight clients. Mm-hmm. I often find leptin potentially or something else goes the other way. They've got early satiety.
Yes.
So talk to me about that. Are they that one very slim percent that has the reverse?
So, this is also important because a lot of times what I do see is, let's rewind a little bit. When we talk about leptin numbers, I, in a perfect world, would love to see leptin levels between 7 and 10. Of course, I track it through the blood work. For those who even want to know if they potentially have a leptin issue, what I'll have you guys do is I have a free quiz on my website. It's www.drbendiamd.com/quiz. Go on there. It's an 11 questions that you can just put in to see, could leptin be off, based on 11 questions affecting your weight, mood, energy, etc. But ideally, in a perfect world, if you're working with a functional medicine provider and they're checking your blood work, you like it between 7 and 7 and 10, 7 and 11, right? That doesn't always happen. There's a group of people that are way above that. That's what we call definitely leptin resistance, more prone to obesity, having issues with weight gain, having satiety issues, and all that good stuff. Then there's the other opposite end of the spectrum where they're actually below 3. And I see this very, very commonly in my athletes and a lot of my females. And it can actually be problematic because when your leptin levels are circulating too low, you're still not getting the appropriate messages. In fact, you're not hungry at all. You're skipping meals. And it could be maybe you've been doing intermittent fasting, you've been doing calorie restrictions. But it's kind of the opposite. It's your body is not able to produce enough leptin hormone. And when that happens, it starts impacting your other female hormones, right? So for females, it starts impacting your estrogen levels. Estrogen levels start to drop. Sometimes you'll have amenorrhea. You start skipping cycles. It starts impacting your bone density. And actually, we call it the female athlete triad because of all these things that start happening when your estrogen levels start becoming low and leptin levels start circulating low. Again, typically we see this in my athletic patients, but not always the case. Mm-hmm. But it is very important to kind of differentiate that, there is a problem if your leptin levels get too low. And it's really important that communication is happening at all times. When your leptin levels are too low, it also starts impacting your glucose communication to the body. So your body's is kind of like in that fight or flight mode longer, and it actually slows down your metabolism. And so you're using the stored fat cells, right? And so your body thinks you're starving because that leptin level is so low, and it stores to everything that you may have. And it's not, I see it commonly in athletes, but I also see it commonly in people that are starving themselves and they're stuck at that scale. It's not moving. And they're like, but I'm not eating anything, Dr. B. I understand you're not eating anything, but you know what? Your body thinks you're starving. And so it really is now impact. This is why you have that plateau. It's holding on to everything it can get because it doesn't know when it's going to get fed again.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So good that you've clarified that. And I'm going to suggest to you, if you're listening, you're going to want to go back and rewind this and play it again. Because really what we're saying very, very simply, but you're getting the science here, and the real story and the connecting the dots is that if you eat too little, you're shutting off your metabolism. You're turning your body against you as opposed to accelerating to what you think is where you want to go.
Yep.
Okay, so listeners who now think, oh my gosh, I might have this leptin resistance, how can a listener reverse it?
Yeah, so great question. This is probably the best thing that I love talking about because there actually are things that you can do to change the communication between your brain and your fat cells. And that's essentially what we want to do, right? Number one, identify, do you have any inflammation? If you have inflammation, we want to decrease inflammation. And the best way that we can do that is through our diet. We are exposed to inflammatory triggers all the time through our diet. So is there something that you're eating that potentially could be causing inflammation? If so, again, I am a big person all about testing. Tests don't guess, they don't lie. You can always do things like an elimination diet, but I love seeing it on paper. So however you do it, identifying, do you have inflammatory triggers or foods that could be causing some inflammation, and eliminate it. If you figured out your trigger is eggs, get rid of it. Because you know what? That's going to decrease inflammation. That's going to start improving leptin. That's just one example, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But also like identifying your gut microbiome. Let's look at your gut microbiome. Do you have, let's talk about your bowel movements. Are you constipated all the time? Are you having diarrhea all the time? Could that be problematic? Do you have gut dysbiosis? Again, I'm a big test person. So I'm like, if we're noticing that your GI tract is off, if you have a little bit of acid reflux, you're having some bloating, let's pay attention to that. Maybe let's get a stool test. Let's see if you've got any infections, if you've got any parasites, anything like that going on there, because we've got to fix your digestion. Yes, taking a probiotic will help, but it doesn't really get to the root cause of what's going on, right? Eating fiber. Oh my God, guys, I'm so obsessed with fiber. It's so good for you. It changes. It's prebiotic, so it's good. It's food and fuel for the good guys in our gut to eat. And it's so important because it changes our gut microbiome. And it's so important to just for good bowel movements in general, right? But it keeps you full. It actually balances your blood sugar. So making sure you're getting fiber in your diet. So just simple things that you can do nutritionally that can really start, changing that number significantly.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we've got some golden nuggets there. Definitely, we're going to keep these coming to you, audience. Well, I've got you here, Dr. Gandhi. So my audience, 45 to 70-year-old women, many of whom do want to lose weight because of gaining some due to hormones or menopause, some not. And so all of you listeners who are here because you're at more ideal weight, you just need to change body composition, increasing muscle and getting stronger for older age, don't go away because a girlfriend or a sister who probably needs this advice. Is there a question? Well, I've got Gandhi with me that I should have asked you and I didn't.
One thing I will say commonly I get asked all the time, especially when it comes to weight loss, is can I really change my leptin levels? Can I really change my hormonal my hormones? And the answer is yes. It really is possible. One thing I highly tell people is you want to give yourself grace, you want to give yourself time, and you want to be realistic with yourself. So whether it's a 5-pound weight gain or 50-pound weight gain over an X amount of period of time, you want to work with your body. You want to honor your body. And once you become in tune with your body will work for you. Most of the time, we are working against our body because, again, we're starving ourselves. We're over exercising. We're doing things the wrong way. When you just step back for a second, listen to what your body needs. Maybe it's as simple as getting more sleep. Maybe it's as simple as incorporating some more meditation or self-care into your regimen or routine. Maybe it's as simple as incorporating a supplement into your regimen. Who knows what it is? When you start paying attention to your body will work for you.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And I know you mentioned the quiz. We've got that link in the show notes. I've jotted that down, listeners. We've got you covered if you're working out, you're walking, or you're commuting. Where else is the best place to connect with you, Dr. Bindiya?
You can definitely, follow me on social media at Dr. Bindiya MD, as well as Revive ATL MD. That's my practice. Our practice website is reviveatlmd.com. And I do see patients in person and virtually all over the country. So if you feel like, you're having some weight loss issues and you want some testing to go along with it, and you just want to dive deeper to kind of understand what your body composition is, then definitely reach out. I'm happy to work with you and help go from there.
So good. Thank you so much for being a guest. And listeners, just in case you don't know, so she's the cutest pregnant woman ever. And so by the time we release this episode, you're probably going to want to go and check her out on social just in case she shows her baby faces. So the show notes for today, where you get all the links where you can connect with her and take that quiz, is flipping50.com/leptin resistance. And what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.